The film begins with Mirabel and her grandmother, who will be removed from magic wax. And she tells her that she was not permissible for her 2 daughters and a son, and they lived a very helpful life together to some extent on the day of the thief and thieves attacked the city, so they were forced to flee from their home. But the haremi did not see them and they went to part that it is he tried to defend itself and the hour of the candle with which it turned every magic candle and killed thieves and the free water, and the candle is also its light. Knew to be enchanting to live in it. And the house is that every need remains in it for the service of her and her children, and when her 3 children grew up, they have 10 years, gave them the candle, each one is enchanted, and also a magic force of his own. And when she asks Mirabel her grandmother, will she be her magic power, she tells her that she will surely remain a distinctive need for her. After that, Mirabel goes in front of the enchanted door, which will remain the door of her undermining, and to her, her magic power, but the door will disappear, and I have no magic and power. Freely and in the days of the days. Mirabel is arrogant and she was seeing her singing and ways, because this is a special day for her. As for the whole relationship, this is because Antony and her cousin are fulfilled in front of the door to take his magic strength from enchanted wax, and the 2 young children go to States and ask Merle about her strength and the strength of her magic family, so she tells them a breeder because her mother can treat patients with the recipes Bruno left it, and they could see the future, but once he disappeared and no one knew what they were. And you know them on her door, the cousin of his aunt, and a part of the family. And she tells them that the dology of her cousin is able to hear any need from a distance that tends, and her brother Camel can change his shape for anyone, and their little brother Antonio who here knew today his magic strength, and she tells them about her great brothers, Isabella, who can plant flowers as soon as she consults in her hands, and Louis, who remains very strong and can be needed any need, and when the children ask Mirabel his magic cluster trying to evade them. But the dollar of listening to them and telling them the Nimera, with no magic force, and this man also says, and Limera Poland says a gift from him so that there is no magic. Distinguished by its nature, and without any magic force. After that, a pulp breeder enters the house to help her people in the party preparations for Antonio, but her grandmother prevents her and requires her to help him, not in any need, because she is afraid that happens with Antonio as what happened with her. Mirabel does not enter her order and she is very sad. And you meet that Antonio is afraid and I am afraid under the bed. So she went to him, she says to him that this day is me and for sure he will have a magic power, so he tells her about Tony and that he was afraid to get the uniform of what happened with her. And the door is his disappearance, he does not have a magic power, and their reassurance decreases if you say to him that he is possible to live in an ordinary manner like her case. And at night the people of the city gather in the enchanted house that helps them in every need to attend the Antonio party, and we will see this young man who remains a fan if he shows that he remains arrogant, because it can plant flowers anywhere. After that, Antonio opens the door that is a banor, beji, a bird, and he stops his armor, and Antonio helped her to understand the words of the bird, and his magic ability remains that he can speak with animals, and Antonio all enters his and his family as well as the people. The place is happy with the family, and they all imagined with Antonio except Mirabel, because no one is asking for her to imagine with them. So, it is sad that it is not interested in it, and because it is not distinctive and it has no magic power like its family. And the house of Sebum, and I graduated from Antonio, which is upset and sad, but suddenly by meeting the day, you accepted the walls of the house with awe, and also an administration injured from the brick that broke, and by meeting that the magic candle is its light, it began to say that it is red and went to his family or tells them to the one who recovered, and when they go to there they are every natural need, and there is no need. She got up to her grandmother from her, and her family is also because they understand that she wanted to win the Antonio party, and the generosity of the grandmother, and she tells them that it is impossible, their house is harming or reading a need. After this, Mirabelli is dead, she tells her that she is tired today. And it is possible for her to see this just action. So Mirabel says to her that Delit is the bodies of Makchi who has a trade so that she will give her mother to heal her, and she tells her that she is unique like any limit at home. Even if she does not have a magical power and goes bitter, but to sleep, but she see that the house is Benero, who is more than another, and when she goes at the window of her grandmother, she will see the candle by meeting that her light began to decrease, and before she walks with her grandmother, she speaks her wallet. And by saying that their house is between them, Rowan, the miracle that they have begun to fade, and she did not know the reason. He asks her hands any sign to keep the candle and save the house and protect their family. And when I had to hear this speech, it decided that it saves the candle and protects the family. And again on the morning, you ask $1, and if I heard anyone at home, he talks about the demise of magic, so you say to her. Louis heard at night while saying that she was weak and she was not strong, like the first, and Mirabel Lewis, or trying to speak with her on breakfast. But her grandmother cuts her and says to them from here, she decided to wallet if Bella for the young man who admired her on the interest of the family, and after eating, Mir walks back Louis, who is helping people and adjusting the houses that will be signed, and also to seize all donkeys to return them to the barrier and ask her bitter. Rather, if she knows any need for the magician's demise, then Lewis says it. Here I heard the family while they were talking about a prediction, Brunio left them in the future. And what he saw is that magic is in mind, and you say to him that he does not know the entire life will remain to return to his belongings. Indeed, Mirabel withdraws with interference or Bruno entering her, and whoever does not enter it never enters it and meets that it is a strange and frightening shape, and the ladder is looked forward to that it remains very long to some extent, with the arrival of those who attended and use mirror with the rope and can inform the other side. And when you enter from the door, you meet the cuts of a shortage, so that you collect pieces of them and surprise when you meet that it was filled with it, and suddenly, the place begins, and it will be collected once in the rest of the pieces and graduated from the judges quickly. But by her grandmother and asking here she was where. And before what you respond to and cut off, they are Louisa, and you say to them that magic, I start going to go back to the first shell, like the first, and she walked while she was shining after that, Mirabel, asking her to create her from Brunio, so that she and her nuts are not Brunio. Bidri was alerting to the needs of the longing, not all of it. And from who told her that the fish with your belongings will die and died, and he did not say to him that you will stay with a rash and remain a virgin. What is the door of Karsh? Also, he predicts that the countries of the message love a young man who loves 1 second. And indeed the rice countries love the same young man who loves if without melted. He will bother his wild because he predicts the needs of the brutality, but from their hour while he is hidden after that, they will prepare the trip because the young man who came to Jay came to Isabella and enters Merca Oda and collects all the pieces that are with her and shocked when you see her image while she was standing in front of the house while it is impartial, and suddenly he enters her door, her hand, and she shocked him, and when you see this picture. And he takes the pieces from him, and he asks for what you do not know what happened. Borno's biography does not answer her grandmother, but by hearing the failure of the failure, she says to her brother, Camel, who formed an egg other than shock, and the whole family is strained in front of the young man who came to Isabel. What do you think that the house is perceived, and they are also noticeable, and its silence is significantly weakening and tense if without and hitting the groom without what you mean, and the people of the city are coming and they ask the grandfather about the magic that began to disappear from them in their reassurance and tell them that it is every good need. And you see Merbaba, a group of so-and-so, which takes enchanted pieces in walking and walk to them to some extent, entering a picture on the precaution, so he entered and saw them. It is the cause of the gland with his belongings, but what was the house and the length of time was living in their side, so he asked Hyamir Pal that it does not appear in the vision that the magic has been removed even though it itself helps the family. She tells her that the day when she would have obtained her magical power, her grandmother was very ill and she asked him to see the future, and her hour he saw that the house is full and magic is busy, and he saw her image and in front of the house, but the vision was not captive because it is a two-way direction to return the house and the direction of its bitten and lost magic. So, he asked for a time that he is seeing her second vision, and he tells her that he needs an open place in order to work like this, at the time that Antonio's animals remain their reputation and they started. They reported it. Big Antonio tells me his uncle comes with the situation so that he can see the vision there, and indeed Brunio Mirabel, if Antonio, who remains a very large forest, went to Bruno himself and goes back to see the vision again, but the same vision that he saw before this remains, and before what vision ends, they will see. Immediately the slices of the place the candle, and they will see the candle with more enlightening, when Mirabel remains standing side by side, and she embraces her sister if Bella claims Mira and if she says that she is impossible to embrace if she is without because she is arrogant, and she will also remain a pause from her. Because she is a passport, she is permissible, so Bruno says to her that a rescue in the family and the house is dependent on it. She is not on Isabella, so he was once affected by his words and the intervention of Isabella, who remain all roses and flowers and try to sympathize with her to embrace her. But if you are fanatic and lurking it, but what is rabble you say about her, helping her to return to the young man who loves her. So if Bella knows that she is what she loves, and what she was overwhelming her because of the interest of the family, and she is fanatic by planting a kind of aloe vera, so she rejoices because she was thinking that she was cultivating an appearance. And you prefer to sing, and she and her sister Mirabel, to some extent, connect to the candle and be. They embraced some of her house nor house watched more. But they come to the grandmother, and they were shocked by Mirabel, and she blames him, because it is the reason for the collapse of the house, the demise of magic and the growth, like the cans of their behavior, so they will respond to it once with research, sins. She says to her, I am my life, I will not have the crisis for you, whatever I do. And if magic is removed, you will be the reason because I love the family. And Bruno also loves the family. But you do not want to believe. Suddenly, the house begins to destroy and collapse, and its hour is to lose the whole family. And the enchanted house brings them out by land. Bruno will also get out of the place where I am inhabited. But Mirabel is designed to reach the candle, whatever happens. Indeed, you can reach it. After the house, it is more than that you discover once, and for the society, it was shed, so it was very sad and boobed, and by the calamity of its family, and it goes to the river. But her grandmother went to her, and she tells her about her part, and she lost her in this place. At that time, the candle with the candle has turned enchanted, and she says to her, now I am afraid, to lose the miracle to the point that she did not see the living miracle that is her family. Mirabel is retired from all that she did with her. Suddenly, Mirabel would see the bed that she saw in the vision and her watch. Mirabel says to her grandmother that she suffered a lot and raised them on her own and they have a miracle because of her, and she says to her that they are able to build a new house long as they are with each other and one family, and they speak to Bruno in his embrace and his mother is happy because she saw him again. Mirabel, her grandmother, and Bruno return to the house, who sold a wreck and unifies the Bruno, his sisters, who rejoiced his return to them after such. B will encourage